You can't negotiate from a position of weakness. You have no choice. You have no choice. So Brittney Griner was released, of course. You know this from the Gulag. Mm-hmm. And she was traded. So let's just first, before we get to this, Joe Biden gave a speech, very short speech.
Yeah. That's all he can do.
He only has so much in him. I think it was about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Announced that she had been released and exchanged for, well, you probably know who it is, but let's hear him say it. Former Vice President.
Good morning, folks, and it is a good morning. Moments ago, standing together with her wife, Sherelle, in the Oval Office, I spoke with Brittney Griner. She's safe. She's on a plane. She's on her way home. After months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances. Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hard-working public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release.
So just for the record, Griner, if you don't know, has obviously been in custody since February of
this year.
February this year.
Yeah.
Was it February 22nd? Or
No,
was it just February 2022?
2020.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that I have that right. I have a 2-2 in my mind. She was arrested for carrying hash oil, which is THC concentrate. Look, I don't care where you line up, and of course, I don't think that people should be arrested for smoking weed. I've been very clear on that. I also just don't like it when people are, vaping their THC hash oil and tell me that it's to cure their cancer.
Cataracts.
Cataracts, that's true.
There we go.
Oh, really? You're the only 21-year-old with cataracts? So, in summary, Brittney Griner, a tattooed lesbian middling WNBA player, was traded for Victor Boot, a convicted notorious arms dealer who was actually nicknamed the Merchant of Death in what many people are hailing as the worst prisoner swap since we traded El Chapo for Muggsy Bogues. So that's something that, you would think we could maybe get right.
Man.
Two very short people that are angry.
Hit the like button if you don't think this was a worthy swap.
Fool me twice.
By the way, you don't get Merchant of Death as a nickname by chance.
By the way,
That's
can we
a cool
just
nickname?
Even though I don't like him, that is an awesome nickname.
It's a very, very cool nickname.
Yes.
Like if you're trying to get nicknames, like a lot of times you got to work your way up a little bit. He's the Merchant of Death, guys.
You're trying to get people to call you that. You're like, sometimes on the weekend I work as a merchant. You're just like selling Dia de la Muerte shirts. You're like, what does this make you think of? Well, I'm a merchant of death. I guess that's my lower third.
T-Bone.
So Victor, is it pronounced Victor Boot?
Boot,
Even though it's pronounced,
it looks like Bout.
It looks like Bout. I'm American, so I don't really care. By the way, you can check all the references at louderwithcrowder.com. This guy, who we traded Brittney Griner for, found guilty of conspiring to sell millions of dollars worth of weapons to a terrorist organization based in Colombia. So to give you an idea, we're not just talking about a few handguns, a few Saturday night specials. We're talking about a guy who sold 800 surface-to-air missiles, 30,000 AK-47s, 10 million rounds of ammo, 5 tons of C4, airplanes with grenade launchers.
What? 5 tons seems like a bit of overkill.
He was also, did you know this? Comment below. Did you know he was also a gun runner for Al-Qaeda and the Taliban?
Oh, geez. Okay.
He supplied arms to warlords in the Central African Republic, the Democratic Republic of Congo. By the way, that movie sucked. Sudan, Libya. I almost said Sudan because that's how something. Sudan. And by the way, when asked about supplying both sides of the Angolan civil war, this is what this guy said: "If I didn't do it, someone else will." So before we move on to anything else, gun control is dead.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done. Okay, can we agree on that? This is it. You cannot release this guy for a WNBA player who was breaking the laws of Russia, mind you.
Right.
Just to be clear, I think it's a stupid law, but you also have to understand that not every place is the United States. So we are going to release a man who has killed, we can't even number the amount of people, DEA agents, police, that have been killed in the drug war and the people who he's supplied, while we arrest Americans in some states for having more than 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And the gun control argument is done. The idea when we say, hey, hold on a second, if you ban guns, criminals are still going to be able to get it illegally. Why? Because of this guy who you gave to Russia as a gift with a bow.
Right. So right now, if the DEA busts a straw purchaser who's gone out and sold 100 handguns on the streets, they would have a press conference. They would have the mayor. They would have everybody there front and center. Look at the job that we've done. You just released a guy who would do that before breakfast. Like, it's not even close to how many... How many anti-aircraft It's not like 1 or 2. Like 1 or 2 is a
Yeah,
nightmare.
let me make sure I have all the 800.
800 surface-to-air missiles.
And 30,000 AK-47s, or to the Colombian drug lords, they call them party favors.
You get nervous if one of those surface-to-air missiles go missing. 709. It's like the FBI with the Dr. Nasser thing. It's like 799 more than the nervous level.
Yes, it's not a mundane detail.
No, jeez.
So this is wherever you line up. I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think most Americans didn't want Brittney Griner in a Russian prison. Right. Wanted her back. I think that's most Americans. And don't be gaslit, because right now they're going to try and say, oh, conservatives they're just mad about this because she's lesbian, she's a lesbian black WNBA player. No. I mean, it doesn't help.
She is immediately cut by her WNBA team, who now has to honor her contract. We're like, oh, great.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Gosh. We have to start canvassing the stands again. Let's send out the open mic barkers. You want to watch WNBA game? No, I don't. Why? Because I have anything else to do. So I think most Americans, and you can hit the like button or hit share because the YouTube algorithm wants to tell you that we are all dead right now. And of course, Carrie Lake is coming on. So there's someone sitting there with the ban button at YouTube going, I don't know what I'm doing here. I think you're glad that she's out of prison. Think it was a bad swap because this government is completely inept.
How about this? If we trade Fauci for her, I'm fine with that. He goes to the Russian gulag. She comes back to the United States. That's a deal, right?
Yes.
You take that deal?
Yes, put him in a flea cage helmet.
There you go. They've got fleas there.
Yeah.
They can make it happen.
I mean, I assume so.
It's Russia.
If not, just check Putin's diaper.
Oh.
So he's walking around like the Bebes kids. So in 2010, to give you an idea who this guy was, and there's more to this story, there are more wrinkles here. 2010, Michael Braun, the former chief of operations for the United States DEA, said this about the guy we just gave up for a WNBA player.
Victor Boot, in my eyes, is one of the most dangerous men on the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth.
Without a doubt.
But that's some brilliant reporting there.
Unless somebody
he just repeats it back to him.
Yeah, on the face of the earth.
On the face of the earth, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Huh. You're just repeating everything I say. Repeating everything
you say. I'm going to fake write something down on my notepad.
Hold on, I'm ready.
Fix it one more time, a bomb goes off.
Yeah. Oh, son of a gun.
I'm invincible. Yeah. So this guy was so clearly a danger and notorious. Mm-hmm. This is the guy who was the subject for, he was called Merchant of Death. That's pretty cool enough, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't like this guy. I'm just saying the nickname is pretty cool.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then he was so notorious, he was the one depicted by Nicolas Cage in that awful, well, I don't know if it was awful. They bleed together, but I don't remember loving it. The Lord of War Nicolas Cage movie. This is about this guy who we just traded.
Hey, don't be shy. Here, look. Free sample. Help yourself, okay? Free sample. Tell your friends. Come here, you want something? Look. RPG, all for you, all right? Happy times. Come on. Help yourselves. No charge. Everything goes. Guys, come on. Here.
That's what this guy does. Yeah. Like, obviously, he was trying to get out. They were depicting a situation getting out of being in trouble with the DEA. But that's essentially what he was doing anyway, even though he was selling it and making a profit doing it. Kids.
Now, that being said, I would have traded absolutely anyone to get Nicolas Cage back if he had been arrested. That man's a national treasure. Really? Yes, absolutely.
Is that a pun intended?
I actually didn't intend for it, and I hate myself now. But now, in the wake of the story, Hollywood is remaking Lord of War, of course, in the name of diversity, recasting the role of Victor Boot, once played by Nicolas Cage, now with Viola Davis. So there's always a win where you can take it. Now, let's...
Lordess of War, is that?
I guess.
I don't even know.
I don't think they like that term anymore. They don't even want to say Lord... Duchess of War?
Just something
I don't know.
Of War.
It's a man's world.
Sorry.
Deal with it.
It's our bad.
We're the Lords of War. We're the merchants of death. You're the deliverer of you deliver babies. Well, you don't deliver. We deliver the babies. You pop them out. So let's compare this right now. This guy was just traded for, and hopefully we have the Biden clip where he said that Brittney Griner was the best among us, like represents the best of America. So 2018, we had an Idaho teen, for example, who was arrested in New York after telling an officer he was carrying a .22. He was arrested on felony charges.
Wow.
He was held for months on a $20,000 bond that his parents couldn't afford. Now, it wasn't that catch and release, cash bail in New York, for example,
Right.
if you threw an Asian man on the third rail, as was happening for a very long time.
Or committing 500 crimes
Right.
amongst, I think 6 people or whatever
Right.
it was. Yeah, that they could just get out of jail for. No.
It was a guy who admitted to carrying a firearm and it wasn't even center fire.
What was it? Was it Hunter Biden when he illegally disposed of a firearm in a trash can or dumpster behind? Was it he
within
arrested?
school grounds?
I'm sorry, or was it Hunter Biden?
Which, by the way, he shouldn't have even been allowed near a school because of his sex
also
crimes.
A fair point. Was it Hunter Biden when he actually lied on the forms that he filled out to get a handgun in another instance?
What did he mark?
Wasn't.
Did he not check the pedophile box?
I didn't know they had a pedophile box on that.
It's right next to the 2 boxes that say if you are white, Caucasian, and then also non-Hispanic. I'm like, ooh, this does look. I don't use the racism card often, but this does seem like you are targeting.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 different ways of just saying you just want to say not Mexican. Like I see this on the form. It's weird.
White non-pedophile is now a new.
Yes, it is. So, by the way, here's another man sentenced to 3 years in prison for a self-defense shooting. Jailed because he converted his legally purchased Glock, a 9mm, to, quote, fully automatic.
Jeez.
So think about that for a second. When we bitch about, what happens, first off, yeah, it's silly. Russia's an awful place, okay? They don't value freedom like we do here in the United States. But if you go to Russia, you should understand that, to be clear. I don't agree with their laws, but you did go to the country and you should understand their laws. When you are entitled and you are an immoral person, and I don't just mean because of the hash oil, but I mean because of the totality of Brittney Griner. I don't believe she's the best among us. That's what former Vice President Joe Biden says. Difference of opinion. When you are entitled, you put everyone else at risk. You put Americans at risk because we have to compromise our safety, like trading a notorious arms dealer likely responsible for the deaths of thousands of Americans because you couldn't be bothered to go a day without your completely non-addictive, highly concentrated THC oil.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, putting this guy back on the streets, how many more people do you think he's been reformed? Do you think that the good old American justice system has really gotten to him? Like his heart's grown 3 sizes and he's no longer going to sell.
You think Russia's going to discipline him?
Yeah. No, Russia's basically going to put him on the streets and say, hey, guess where we need arms right now? Ukraine. Would you like to help us facilitate some transactions right now? Because that's what you do. You help people in conflicts. We're in a conflict. We're getting our butts kicked right now. Can you maybe lend a hand?
This guy will be taken to a Russian cell with a new bottle of Remy Martin and Boll and Branch bed sheets.
And he'll promote the Boll and Branch bed on his podcast.
And a Quip toothbrush.
I think I've got Biden's.
Do we have Biden?
Yeah.
Biden saying, and this is there's so much to parse through here. And again, you can comment below. I'd love to see you commenting below. I think most Americans think, glad she's home. Didn't want her spending the rest of her life in a Russian prison. This was a horrible swap, and it's very clearly indicative of our standing in the world that we are weaker because of it. It's not that we made this trade. That's not what I think most Americans are frustrated about. Most Americans are frustrated that we are in a position where we would willingly make this trade.
Yeah.
We're the United States. They're Russia. Are you saying you're better? Yes.
Clearly.
Yes. I'd like to think so. All right, but maybe not if this is the best among us. Let's hear former Vice President Biden tell it.
Space, privacy, and time with her loved ones to recover and heal from her time being wrongfully detained. Brittney is an incomparable athlete, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA. She endured mistreatment and a show trial in Russia with characteristic grit and incredible dignity. She represents the best about America. It is across the board, everything about her.
Okay. The best of, first off, incomparable. Incomparable, that means there's no one who can compare. That's not true. Like, you could say that about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
You could say that about Joe Louis. Ukraine at one point could say that about Klitschko's. You could maybe say it about certainly Michael Jordan. Yeah. You could say it about Wayne Gretzky. When this was a walk-off, this was the best person. I don't know that that's Brittney Griner. I know the talent pool, of course, is incredibly shallow in women's basketball. It's not played to the same degree that men are. That's just, look, a big reason that you can't be as good as men is because there aren't enough good female basketball players. The good ones, the really, really good ones, I get it, you're good, but not everybody. It's the same thing in a lot of women's sports. You have these incredibly elite athletes, and then you have a bunch of, soccer moms who've been doing it part-time. Now, the best among us, okay, however you want to slice it, this person is an international criminal. She did go and break the law in Russia. Now, I don't think that she should be detained for that. I don't think that I think it's a silly law, but I think it's stupid of you to bring, by the way, keep in mind, too, we're not just talking about an ounce. You do realize that even in states where they have like a legal amount of medicinal marijuana, different states have different sort of measurements, whether it's grams or ounces. You're way off the charts with a concentrate because they consider it pounds of weed, considering the percentage, because often you're dealing with like 90%, 80 to 90-something percent THC. I don't want this to be a discussion about weed. I'm not paid by Big Pharma to say that weed sucks. I don't care if you smoke weed. I think there's some medical uses for it, okay? Shut up about it. That's not the point here. The point here is to bring what would be a problem for you in Oklahoma to Russia and expect zero consequences. And, what that actually, and sorry, what I mean to say is, you're the best of America across the board.
If you want to see this on Mug Club, there's a pretty funny video where Brittney Griner says she can beat Kevin Durant in basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It's like
Bring it up in Mug Club.
And even her coach roasts her.
Well, that's not, she was high.
But why is he overselling? He's overselling this accomplishment. She is the best among us. She's an incredibly accomplished athlete. It's like, look, I get it. You're playing at the top of your sport. That's fine. You couldn't make a men's team to save your life. That's also fine. I don't really care. But I'm only bringing it up because the president of the United States is now making it like you're the greatest. It's like you're our Mother Teresa and we just saved you.
You know where the term incomparable would be applicable? To the Lord of War, to the Merchant of Death.
Yeah, don't pay attention.
He was, awful, terrible person who deserves the full brunt of the law. Okay? Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But the best at being the one who deals arms and breaks the law, right?
The very best.
Come on. He's tops.
Yeah. That's a cutthroat industry.
Yes.
It's hard to make your way up.
Come on, for crying out loud. If he's not the Wayne Gretzky, he's at least the Gordie Howe of Lords o' War.
Yeah, he's got to talk up Griner to. Don't pay attention to who we traded.
Yeah, don't
her.
pay attention.
Hold on. By the way, he actually, upon hearing who he was traded for, he walked back in the cell and said, "No, of course not. You got somebody better. Somebody better. I am not being traded for that WNBA lady. I would rather stay here. I am worth more."
Yeah, they had to carry him out like a child where he's hanging on to the bars. No!
Like, that's it.
I spent years building this reputation.
It's like finding out that the bond on your head is too low and you want it to be higher, so you go kill more people.
What's Jihadi John doing? Is there some kind of swap there? This is laughable. This is shameful for the United States, not because we saved an American, but because of how we had to compromise. Putin doesn't... And by the way, this is also at a point when Russia is severely compromised, to be clear. Yeah. There's no point in modern history that you can think of where Russia has less of a leg to stand on than right now, and they still rammed it in dry. Now...
You gave them a huge win.
Yes. So Biden also, this is how you know this is just a house of, I think, okay, we do have this clip. Okay. Yeah. This is how you know that this is all showboating, right? She's the best among us. What he really means to say is, isn't it great that we have a lesbian tattooed pothead, right? Isn't that we should put her, that's going to be the new Uncle Sam poster, just Brittney Griner. We want you. Everyone's going to be like, we're good. Now.
Totally fine.
He also went on to praise the assistants and see if you can spot the inconsistency here and that none of this is real from UAE, the UAE. Here you go.
I also want to thank the UAE for helping us facilitate Brittney's return, because that's where she landed.
Yeah, they cared about it.
These past few months have been hell for Brittney and for Charlie and her entire family and all her teammates back home.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but UAE, in their, gayness is punishable by death.
Yes. Yes. The last number of months have been hell, and we chose the one place on the planet we could send you that would be worse because they wouldn't even give you a trial. Yeah. They would just throw you off the building.
Yeah. The question is, what is UAE up to where they're like, we want to create some favor here and just let's not kill or flog the lesbian.
No. We won't let her off the plane, though.
Right.
Just you can land here, but you're not.
We can't let her touch
on this soil.
Haven't you seen? We have a fake ski mountain.
Yeah, right over there. But you just look through the window to see it. That's it.
By the way, foreigners over there, and I don't know if you know this, they don't have, I don't expect it was a surprise, recreational marijuana, not a thing. Foreigners over there can be imprisoned, they can be flogged, they can be fined, or they can be deported. Seems like at this case they went with deporting. And also that's redundant, but here's something else to know. Joint UAE-Saudi, there was a statement, joint from the UAE and was it Saudi Council? I forget.
Yeah.
But the Saudi Crown Prince, remember Khashoggi? Khashoggi. Again, I might get some of these wrong because I don't care. It's really hard for me to keep track of all these names. I'm pretty sure it was Khashoggi is how it was pronounced. Some people say Khashoggi. I say Khashoggi. The Saudi Crown Prince helped lead mediation efforts. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so these are trustworthy fellows. They don't have a dog in the fight of ensuring that the merchant of death.
Like, no, Putin, you want the merchant of death.
Yes.
You want this guy.
Putin is like, who's this?
It's the Saudi Crown Prince and the UAE.
How'd you get my number?
Well, we're trying to make the United States look really stupid. You want to play along?
How do I do that?
Just release the WNBA player.
Wait, you mean a lesbian with tattoos who's addicted to marriage, Aiden?
Right. It's going to make them look really stupid, and guess what you're going to get? Lord of War.
Not the merchant of death!
Yeah, the very same
They're going to bring him back to me?
Good.
Oh, man, I was having a bad week shitting my pants and stomach cancer falling out asshole, but this is mad boy. Never interrupt your enemy when he's making mistake, huh? Okay. I should send former Vice President Biden to Tiff Streets.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I'll send the paperwork.
He's more of a Sherry's Berries guy.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Laughing at you.
Yeah.
And here's something. So what do we have? We have the best among us, Brittney Griner. I don't care where you line up, okay? She's not the best among us. Let's even assume that she's above the bell curve. Certainly not the best among us. Traded Brittney Griner for the best among merchants o' death.
Yeah, for sure.
Arms dealers, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
There's no question
Top
about
dog.
that. Nobody gets that name with not being the best.
Well, we basically also, by the way, have political prisoners in this country for trespassing January 6th, not to mention people in New York who happen to have a .22 caliber firearm or happen to defend themselves with a firearm. So we do the same thing here in the United States, not to the same degree, but again, it's how the law is selectively enforced. So we traded the merchant of death for Brittney Griner, along with the assistance of countries or states where homosexuality is punishable by death. And, of course, they've already executed people wrongfully before in the past. We know this when we're talking about the Saudi prince, when we're talking about UAE. So we did so here we have all of that, but there's more to this. The former Vice President Biden and his administration, they got Griner, but they didn't get Paul Whelan, a Marine who was accused of spying, convicted of spying, sentenced to 16 years in prison. Now, I won't even say that Marine Paul is the best among us, but better than Griner. And here was the White House's explanation as to why they couldn't.
We never forgot about Brittney. We've not forgotten about Paul Whelan, who's been unjustly detained in Russia for years.
Yes, you have.
This was not a choice of which American to bring home. We brought home Trevor Reed when we had a chance early this year. Sadly, for totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently than Brittney's. And while we have not yet succeeded in securing Paul's release, we are not giving up. We will never give up.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
You removed the greatest chess piece that we had from the board.
Do you notice
what are you going to give for Paul?
Do you know what he said there? It wasn't a choice. Exactly. You can't negotiate from a position of weakness. You have no choice. You have no choice. That's why it's such a big deal in sports, right? Free agency, the idea of choice, having choice available to you. Do I destroy your country for the rest of all time and hit this button? Do I break your stuff? I don't know. I'm a little bit crazy. Don't do it when Trump means what he says. That man is crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's out of mind. He will blow up Kremlin. Okay, let's give him what he wants. Can we try and convince him that instead of Paul, it's Paul Lynn? Will he know that he's dead?
It's close.
Biden is holding on to his ace, the super merchant of death.
Oh,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, they haven't made a movie about that guy yet, and we've certainly caught him.
Yeah. He just released a basket of Japanese killer hornets.
Yeah, it was supposed to be for both of these people.
Yes.
Right? It was supposed to be for both, right? So if you're going to trade the prisoner that they covet the most, you definitely don't give up on the person that has been there. By the way, I understand the last 10 months-ish has been hell. I understand that. 4 years. Paul's been there 4 years. Yeah. He's been convicted for the last 2 years. 4 years. He's got a 16-year sentence. I know your last 10 months has been rough. I get it.
How many years did the Chinese spy banging Eric Swalwell get? I'm just trying to get a yardstick
I think
for
a
the
first-class
sentencing of
ticket-
spies.
First class ticket back home is what she probably got. Just expelled
fang,
from the
fang.
country. Typically, that's one of the things that you either kill the spy in the process of spying, or you expel them from your country.
And it took 4 years
Or
to remove
espionage.
the smile from Swalwell's face. And obviously, by the way, Putin had to approve of this transfer for it to happen. Look, you can't hate Putin. To be clear, I can't stand Putin. I also can't stand Zelensky. Just to be clear, I don't have a dog in that fight at that point. I think that Russia is wrong in a lot of what it's doing. I also think that Ukraine is one of the most corrupt governments that exists throughout the globe. I think most Americans feel that way. You can comment below. I don't think these are radical opinions. Yeah, we shouldn't be sending money because you know what? It's one of the money laundering capitals of the world. It's corrupt. It was basically government that was installed, and Putin's a prick. I think that's what most Americans think. But you can't roundly condemn Putin and say that he has absolutely nothing to offer. He's wrong on all fronts. And then here say, oh, this is a great trade, when Putin screwed us with a wire brush. He is laughing right now. He is running this tape of former Vice President Biden to all of his drunken conscripts to try and reinvigorate them and give them a second wind. And keep in mind, this is what former Vice President Biden has said about Putin.
You may remember I got criticized for calling Putin a war criminal. Well, the truth of the matter is so what happened in Vuka. This warrants him, he is a war criminal. But we have to gather the information. We have to continue to provide Ukraine with the weapons they need to continue the fight. And we have to gather all the detail so this can be have a war crime trial. This guy is brutal.
Yeah, almost as brutal as the Lord of War / Merchant of Death. I almost feel like we shouldn't have named the film Lord of War because that just gave him more street cred. That was a screw up for Hollywood.
It really was.
Like, if you're not going to run serial killers' manifestos because you don't want to give them notoriety, probably don't have them played by Nicolas Cage.
And make him look really cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's tough to do.
And then give him like a really pretty wife as well. It's like,
Do you want an AK? I have authentic Russian 3D printed.
Hey, by the way, Eric Swalwell's Fang, whatever her name was.
Fang.
She's back in China.
Oh,
I told you. They gave her a first class ticket and said, be on your way.
Yeah, exactly. She was probably, she was met with, I don't know, Peking duck, whatever they reward their spies.
I'm sure it's more than a dish for lunch.
Crying out loud. That being said, I heard that she was quite something. Really? I don't want to say that she was on fire, but she left Swalwell looking like the English Patient.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.